The Galactic Council had strict protocols for first contact situations. Every spacefaring race knew this. But humans, as the Council would soon learn, had a peculiar habit of ignoring protocols in favor of what they called improvisation. Captain Tom Walker of the Earth ship Daredevil stood at the helm, staring at the massive alien warship that blocked their path. The ship belonged to the Greys, one of the most feared military powers in the galaxy. Its sleek, metallic surface bristled with weapons, each capable of turning the Daredevil into space dust. "Sir, they're demanding we surrender and prepare for boarding," reported Jack, the communications officer. His usually steady voice trembled slightly. "They say our presence in this sector violates their space." Tom scratched his chin, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Did you record their message?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Send them this reply: 'Dear Greys, watch this.'" The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. They knew that look in their captain's eyes. It was the same look he had when he rode a shopping cart down a cargo ramp during shore leave, or when he suggested using the ship's waste disposal system as a makeshift propulsion booster during their last mission. "Captain," began Mary, the first officer, "the regulations clearly state." "Regulations are more like guidelines, really," Tom interrupted, grinning. "Besides, I've got an idea. Stevens, remember that maneuver we discussed over poker last week? The one you said was theoretically possible but completely insane?" Stevens, the chief engineer, went pale. "Sir, you can't mean the slingshot spiral? That's never been tested. The gravitational forces alone could tear us apart." "Well, now's a perfect time to test it," Tom declared. "Plot a course directly at their ship." The alien vessel's commander watched in confusion as the tiny human ship began accelerating toward them. Their sensors indicated the humans were charging their minimal weapons, a futile gesture against their superior shields. What the Greys didn't expect was for the Daredevil to suddenly dive beneath their ship, using their own gravitational field as a slingshot. The human vessel spiraled around the massive warship in an ever-tightening corkscrew, building up speed with each rotation. The maneuver created a cascading gravitational distortion that interfered with the Greys' targeting systems. Their weapons, calibrated for normal space combat, couldn't lock onto a ship moving in such an erratic pattern. "Sir!" Stevens shouted over the groaning of the ship's hull, "the centrifugal force is approaching critical levels." "Just a few more seconds," Tom said, gripping his chair as the bridge shook violently. "Wait for it." At the precise moment when the Daredevil reached maximum velocity, Tom gave the order, "Release emergency coolant through the starboard vents." The freezing coolant burst from the ship's side, instantly crystallizing in the vacuum of space. The crystals, caught in the gravitational whirlpool created by their spiral maneuver, formed a glittering debris cloud that completely surrounded the Grey warship. The alien vessel's sensors, already struggling with the gravitational distortions, were now blinded by thousands of reflective ice crystals. Their weapon systems automatically shut down to prevent friendly fire in the confusion. Using this moment of chaos, the Daredevil shot away from the scene, leaving behind a very bewildered alien crew and a story that would soon spread across the galaxy. Hours later, in the safety of neutral space, Mary approached her captain. "Sir, that was either the most brilliant or the most foolish thing I've ever seen." Tom laughed, nursing a cup of coffee. "Sometimes they're the same thing. Besides, did you see their faces on the view screen? Priceless." The incident would later be discussed in the Galactic Council, where it was added to a growing list of cases titled "Human Incidents." Why watch this should be considered a warning signal. It was the first of many such entries, as humanity continued its chaotic expansion into the stars, one improvised maneuver at a time. What the galaxy would soon learn was that this was just the beginning. When humans said, "Watch this," it wasn't just bravado, it was an announcement that the impossible was about to become possible, and that the rules of the universe were about to be bent, if not broken entirely. 2 months after the slingshot incident, as it came to be known, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The topic: human integration into galactic society. The council chamber buzzed with concern as reports of human activities flooded the screens. Ambassador Reed of Earth sat calmly in the chamber, trying not to smile as various alien species recounted their experiences with human crews. The latest complaint came from the Mechanics Guild, represented by Master Engineer Blocks, a towering insectoid being. "These humans," Blocks chittered, mandibles clicking in agitation, "they keep modifying our standardized equipment. It's chaos." Just last week, a human engineer named Mike turned a standard waste processing unit into what he called a makeshift coffee maker because the ship's regular one broke down. Reed made a note to get that coffee maker design. The standard issue ones were terrible. The council was particularly troubled by an incident at the Galactic Engineering Championship, where humans had been invited to participate for the first time. The challenge had been simple: repair a damaged starship engine with limited resources. While other species carefully followed proper procedures, the human team, led by Chief Engineer Pete Roberts, took one look at the engine and said those dreaded words, "Watch this." The footage played on the council's main screen. Pete stood before the engine, holding what appeared to be a food synthesizer and several emergency flares. His team had already dismantled half the engine's safety protocols. "Sir," one of his team members said, "are you sure about using the synthesizer's protein compiler to rebuild the fusion containment field?" "Nope," Pete replied cheerfully, "but that's what makes it exciting. Hand me that plasma torch and your sandwich." The alien judges watched in horror as the humans proceeded to rebuild the engine using parts from their lunch boxes, emergency equipment, and what appeared to be a gaming console someone had brought along for their break. "The most disturbing part," Blocks continued, antennae twitching, "is that it worked. Not only did it work, but their jury-rigged system improved the engine's efficiency by 34%. It violates at least 57 safety regulations, but it works." The council chamber erupted in concerned murmuring. Ambassador Reed took this moment to speak up. "Honorable council members," he began, "I understand your concerns. But consider this: throughout human history, some of our greatest innovations came from what we call thinking outside the box. Yes, our methods may seem unconventional. Your species turned a medical scanner into a food replicator," someone shouted from the back. "And now we have better tasting space food," Reed countered smoothly. Innovation often comes from unexpected places. The debate might have continued, but it was interrupted by an urgent message. A mining colony in the Proxima sector was experiencing catastrophic reactor failure. The conventional safety systems had failed, and evacuation wasn't possible in time. Before the council could form a committee to address the crisis, they received another message: a human maintenance crew had already arrived on the scene. The crew's leader had assessed the situation and sent a brief message that made the entire council chamber groan, "Watch this." Live feeds showed the humans converting mining lasers into makeshift coolant dispersers, using pressure suits as temporary containment vessels, and somehow managing to stabilize the reactor with a combination of industrial lubricant and what appeared to be several cases of carbonated beverages. Ambassador Reed stood up again, addressing the stunned council. "We may not always follow the manual, but we get results. Sometimes, the best solutions aren't in any handbook." As the council adjourned to process this latest display of human ingenuity, a new regulation was quietly added to the books: in case of catastrophic engineering failure, contact nearest human crew. Then evacuate to safe distance and prepare to witness the impossible. The Galactic Sports Federation had always prided itself on maintaining strict regulations and proper conduct in all athletic competitions. That was until humans joined and introduced what they called freestyle innovations to traditional sports. The annual zero-gravity championships were meant to be a dignified display of athletic prowess. Ryan Miller, a former skateboard enthusiast turned space athlete, stood at the starting line of the zero-gravity obstacle course. The other competitors, representing various alien species, wore the standard magnetic boots and propulsion packs required for the event. Ryan wore these too, but he'd also brought something extra, a modified maintenance shield, roughly the size and shape of a snowboard. The judges were still debating whether it violated any rules when Ryan uttered those now infamous words, "Watch this, folks." "Human competitor," the chief judge announced, "please explain the purpose of that equipment." Ryan grinned. "It's totally within regulations. Rule 47B states that additional safety equipment is permitted if it provides protection during navigation. This shield will definitely protect me while I navigate." The fact that he emphasized "navigate" with air quotes should have been a warning sign. As soon as the starting signal sounded, Ryan threw the shield into the zero-gravity field, jumped onto it, and used his magnetic boots to lock onto its surface. What followed was less of a race and more of what humans would recognize as extreme sports in space. Ryan transformed the carefully designed obstacle course into what he called a cosmic halfpipe. He used the curved walls of the course as ramps, performing spins and flips that had the alien spectators gasping in confusion. His magnetic boots allowed him to stick to the shield while performing maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "This isn't how you're supposed to navigate the course," shouted one of the judges. "But I am navigating it," Ryan called back, performing what he later described as a 720 super cosmic flip with a gravitational twist. The other competitors stopped to watch, their mandibles, tentacles, or other appropriate appendages dropping in shock as Ryan used the shield to grind along safety railings and bounce off force field barriers in ways their designers had never intended. When Ryan crossed the finish line, having completed the course in record time while performing tricks that would make a professional skateboarder jealous, the judges were faced with a dilemma. Technically, he hadn't broken any rules. He had simply interpreted them in a way no one had ever considered. The incident sparked a wave of innovation in zero-gravity sports. Within months, humans had introduced concepts like space surfing, asteroid parkour, and something particularly terrifying called comet riding, which was quickly banned after the first attempt, despite being, as the human pilot insisted, totally awesome. The Galactic Sports Federation had to create an entirely new division just for what they termed human-style competitive navigation. It quickly became the most watched sporting event in the galaxy, though most species watched with a mixture of awe and horror. During a Federation meeting to discuss these developments, an elderly quantum games master named Vix made an observation that would become famous throughout the galaxy. "The problem isn't that humans break the rules," he said, watching footage of Ryan teaching alien athletes how to perform a stellar backflip. "The problem is that they look at our rules, smile, and say, 'Yes, but what if we did this instead?' And somehow, this always involves turning something simple into an extreme sport." The meeting was interrupted by cheers from the practice arena, where Ryan had just successfully taught a six-limbed alien how to perform a zero-gravity kickflip. The alien species didn't even have a word for kickflip before that day. As the footage spread across galactic networks, new warning signs began appearing at sporting venues throughout the galaxy. "Caution, human athletes present. Expect the unexpected." Some facilities added a second sign below it: "If you hear, 'Watch this,' please ensure your insurance is up to date." The annual Galactic Cuisine Festival was the most prestigious cooking competition in known space. Held on the luxury space station, Star Palette, it attracted master chefs from hundreds of civilizations. This year, however, marked the first time humans were invited to participate. The organizing committee had almost rejected Earth's application when they discovered humans regularly ate substances like capsaicin, a chemical weapon, according to most species, and fermented foods, technically controlled substances in some sectors. But rules were rules, and Earth met the technical requirements for participation. Dave Wilson, a food truck owner from Texas, stood out among the distinguished alien chefs with their advanced molecular gastronomy tools and quantum flavor enhancers. While others brought sophisticated cooking equipment, Dave wheeled in what looked like a primitive metal barrel with smoke coming out of it. "What is that primitive combustion device?" asked Chief Judge Exor, their crystalline form shimmering with concern. "This here's my smoker," Dave replied, patting the barrel affectionately. "And wait till you see what I can do with it. Matter of fact, watch this." The phrase sent immediate ripples of anxiety through the gathered judges and competitors. By now, most galactic citizens recognized those words as a prelude to chaos. The competition's theme was innovation in traditional cuisine. While other chefs presented elaborate dishes deconstructed into their quantum elements or reassembled through gravitational manipulation, Dave started pulling out simple ingredients: meat from earth cattle, wood chips, and a collection of spices that made several judges' sensory organs twitch nervously. "Is that combustion-based cooking?" one judge asked, horrified. "You're deliberately burning organic matter to prepare food?" "Yep," Dave grinned, adding more wood to his smoker. "Been in my family for generations. Just wait till you try my brisket." The next 12 hours became legendary in galactic cooking history. While other chefs worked with precision tools and energy fields, Dave tended his smoker, occasionally opening it to spray the meat with a mysterious liquid he called secret sauce, which later analysis revealed to be mostly vinegar and spices, much to the scientists' confusion. The air filled with smoke, causing the station's atmospheric processors to work overtime. Several competitors complained that the aroma was attacking their olfactory sensors. Others found themselves strangely drawn to the smell, much to their confusion and shame. When judging time came, the panel approached Dave's station with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. The sight of burned animal protein caused some judges to activate their emergency digestive shields. "Now, y'all need to eat this with your hands," Dave explained, presenting the brisket on simple paper plates. This suggestion caused the etiquette specialist on the panel to faint. But then something remarkable happened. The judges who dared to try the brisket experienced flavors their highly evolved palates had never encountered. The combination of smoke, spices, and slow cooking had created something entirely new in their experience. "This is primitive," stated Judge Exor, reaching for another piece. "Completely uncivilized." They paused, taking another bite. "I require more for further analysis." By the end of the judging, Dave's paper plates had been emptied, and several judges were caught trying to lick their appendages clean, a shocking breach of galactic etiquette. The competition resulted in the creation of a new category, human-style traditional cooking. It was noted in the official records that this was the first time in galactic history that a cooking method classified as potentially dangerous and technically a form of controlled burning had received prestigious culinary awards. Dave's success inspired other human chefs to introduce the galaxy to concepts like barbecue, grilling, and most controversially, deep frying. The Galactic Health and Safety Board had to create entirely new regulations just to deal with human cooking methods. As one food critic noted in their review, human cuisine, like humans themselves, seems to operate on the principle that if something is worth doing, it's worth doing in the most alarming way possible, preferably involving fire. The Galactic Entertainment Network had strict guidelines about what constituted acceptable programming. That is, until they made the mistake of giving humans their own channel. What followed would forever change how the galaxy viewed entertainment. It started when Bob Tucker, a former stunt coordinator turned space station entertainment director, was tasked with creating content for the newly established human broadcasting section. The network executives expected educational programs about Earth culture. What they got was something entirely different. "You want to do what?" asked the network director, their holographic form flickering with distress. "Just a little show called Extreme Space Challenges," Bob explained, grinning. "Think of it as educational entertainment. And trust me, watch this." The first episode featured human contestants attempting to pilot maintenance pods through an asteroid field while telling jokes. The network safety board had a collective meltdown, but viewers couldn't look away. "This is reckless," declared one executive. "They're turning routine maintenance into entertainment," Bob finished. "And wait till you see what we've got planned for zero-gravity paintball." The show became an overnight sensation. Species across the galaxy were simultaneously horrified and fascinated by humans turning potentially lethal situations into entertainment. The episode where contestants had to defuse a malfunctioning reactor while participating in what humans called a rap battle broke all previous viewing records. But it wasn't just the stunts that captured the galaxy's attention. Humans introduced concepts like reality shows and game shows that baffled alien audiences. The idea of voluntarily participating in challenging situations for entertainment was a uniquely human concept that somehow caught on. "Are you telling me," asked a confused alien producer, "that humans will willingly eat unknown substances, solve complex puzzles, and face their fears, just for the amusement of others?" "And prizes," Bob added cheerfully. "Don't forget the prizes." The galaxy watched in amazement as humans turned everything into a competition. The show, Space Station Makeover, became particularly popular, even though most species couldn't understand why anyone would voluntarily redesign their living space while racing against a time limit. Then came the infamous Interstellar Food Challenge episode. A human chef named Lisa challenged a renowned alien gastronomer to create a gourmet meal using only emergency ration packs and whatever they could find in a standard maintenance closet. "But these materials aren't edible," protested the alien chef. "Not with that attitude," Lisa replied, already figuring out how to turn cleaning supplies into cooking utensils. The resulting dish wasn't just edible. It won several prestigious culinary awards and led to a spin-off show dedicated to extreme cooking in inappropriate locations. The network tried to maintain some control by establishing safety guidelines, but humans had a knack for finding creative interpretations of every rule. When told they couldn't do dangerous stunts without safety equipment, they simply made the safety equipment part of the entertainment. "If I have to wear a protective suit," declared one contestant, "I'm going to bedazzle it." The final straw came during a live broadcast of Galactic talent show. A human juggler named Max decided to demonstrate his skills using active plasma cores, claiming they were basically just really hot bowling pins. The performance was spectacular, if slightly radioactive. The network had to add a new disclaimer to all human programming: warning, activities performed by humans are done by trained professionals with a questionable understanding of self-preservation. Do not attempt to recreate these acts, regardless of how entertaining they appear. Despite, or perhaps because of, these warnings, human entertainment became the galaxy's guilty pleasure. Species that prided themselves on logic and dignity found themselves binge-watching human reality shows in secret. As one alien media critic noted, human entertainment perfectly encapsulates their species. It's chaotic, often dangerous, seemingly pointless, and yet somehow impossibly addictive. The fact that they can turn routine tasks into death-defying spectacles is either a sign of remarkable creativity or collective insanity. Possibly both. 5 years after humanity's introduction to galactic society, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. The agenda: determining whether humans were a benefit or a threat to cosmic civilization. The evidence room was filled with footage of various, watch this, incidents that had transformed everything from engineering to entertainment. Council member Trix, a veteran diplomat, stood before the assembly. "We must address the human question. Their influence has spread across every sector of society. They've changed how we approach problems, how we view entertainment, even how we cook food." The chamber buzzed with mixed reactions. That's when James Cooper, Earth's new ambassador, stepped up to speak. Unlike his predecessors, James wasn't a career diplomat. He was chosen specifically because he understood both human nature and alien concerns. "Honorable Council," he began, "I know we humans can seem chaotic. But before you make any decisions, I'd like you to watch this." Several council members instinctively reached for their emergency protocols before realizing he was just showing them a data presentation. The screen displayed a series of crisis scenarios from the past year: a runaway asteroid threatening a colony, a pandemic on a remote space station, a quantum storm that defied conventional navigation. In each case, human unconventional thinking had found solutions where standard procedures had failed. "Yes, we say, watch this before doing something crazy," James admitted. "But here's what you might not have noticed: we only say it when we're absolutely confident we can pull off the impossible." He pulled up more footage: the maintenance crew that turned their ship's coffee maker into a vital component during an emergency, the chef who prevented a diplomatic incident by turning toxic alien vegetables into a delicacy, the space athlete who saved a falling ship by applying extreme sports techniques to emergency docking procedures. "When humans say, 'Watch this,'" James continued, "it's not just bravado. It's our way of announcing that we're about to try something unconventional because the conventional isn't working. It's our signal that we're willing to risk looking foolish for the chance of achieving something amazing." The council chamber fell silent as they processed this perspective. Then, an elderly council member named Vox spoke up, his crystalline form glowing with amusement. "Last week," Vox said, "I found myself saying, 'Watch this,' before attempting an unconventional solution to a computer malfunction. It worked. I believe I've been, what do humans call it? Ah yes, infected by the crazy." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Other council members began sharing similar stories. The Grey's military commander admitted to using Captain Walker's infamous slingshot maneuver during a training exercise. A renowned alien chef confessed to secretly installing a human-style grill in their restaurant. As the stories flowed, a new understanding emerged. Humans hadn't just changed galactic society, they'd shown the galaxy how to think differently about problems, how to find joy in challenges, and how to laugh in the face of impossible odds. The Council's final ruling became famous throughout the galaxy: while humans remain an unpredictable element in galactic society, their ability to transform chaos into progress, danger into entertainment, and impossible situations into opportunities makes them an invaluable addition to our cosmic community. However, all facilities must maintain updated insurance policies and clearly posted "Watch this" warning signs. Years later, the phrase, "Watch this," would evolve from a warning of impending chaos to a galaxy-wide signal of innovation. Species that had once fled at those words now leaned in with curiosity, wondering what impossible thing was about to become possible. As James left the council chamber that day, he overheard two alien diplomats discussing a complex trade dispute. To his amusement, one turned to the other and said, "You know, I have an unconventional idea for solving this, watch this." Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't just their solutions, it was their infectious belief that with enough creativity, courage, and a willingness to try the impossible, any problem could be solved. Even if the solution involved duct tape, breaking a few rules, or turning it into an extreme sport.